Right, you're gonna need your orange now. We're gonna lay in our orange parts. Actually, I might change my mind as I do. Let's take our medium or small round brush. Make sure it's nice and clean and dry. And let's put some purples in up here on this bird and let it dry a little bit while we're working on our feathers, okay? So we're going to come in here wherever the tops of these are, and we're just going to kind of, you can dry brush it if you want, but I'm going to lay in a purple cap, and then I'm going to come in and fan it out a little. This is a fantasy bird, so it's not super accurate, but it's kind of fun to play around with what it could be, right? And we're going to save these details. Maybe I might put a few purples in here just to let it be drying, but these are going to be sort of nestled, okay? And then we'll also have some little, you know, things coming off the side here. We'll get to that more later. I think maybe having one or two over here might be good too. Didn't really do that in my last one, but and we'll blend those in a little bit better. Okay. Now let's get our orange. And let's land some of those oranges on our feathers here, okay? So I'm hitting my orange with my little tiny brush. And this is, I didn't do so good with the last one because I was really just playing around. I really wasn't super careful, but let's do just the slightest line. You don't want a whole lot of paint right at this edge. I'll just put my finger in the purple that I just put in there. And we may have to come back and darken it. I don't want to put white on it because I don't want to change the intensity. And this is not realistic, if you didn't know. Most of you probably figured that out. So just put little tiny arcs at the bottom. And then you can even do this if you wanted. You could pull out a couple of strokes, just tiny. Might even need a tinier brush than that. Or if you have a different resolution, maybe you have a different idea, I highly encourage you to go rogue. I'm very supportive of that as an art teacher. With my students in the classroom setting, there's a sort of line where you can't go too far past that because sometimes the supplies don't lend themselves or time. But when you're doing this at home for pleasure, oh, if you get an idea, go with it. Absolutely. I actually like the picture just the way it was just now before we did the orange. I mean, I like the orange, but I actually sort of like the blue just the way it was. So if you prefer it that way, then don't do the orange. It's totally cool with me. Every person's is going to be kind of have their own opinions and flair to it. Now our green is dry enough that we can do this without it being too much of a mixy-matchy situation. If you have some of these longer ones, you know, you might be able to fan out your orange a little bit. Two layers will make it a little bit more vibrant than just one. So the choice is yours. You can come back in and lay in another layer to bring that intensity out, or you can just leave it. Just the slightest touch. I tell my students when they're using these detail brushes that it's like putting makeup on a fairy. You have to be super gentle. I've got a little bit much paint on my brush. All right, I'm gonna look for my 0 brush, and I may come in here with my 0, which is just a little smaller, and do some of these little areas again, just to kind of build that paint up and bring that intensity out. All right, I'm going to do these little tiny guys up here. If you don't want to do these guys, you can, you know, you don't have to. And up here, they may end up being more like a little V. All right, I think I've mostly got those. Now, in the other picture, I put a little purple above it, so I might do that just by that yellow. So I'm going to take my little tiny brush. My brush is a 0, you know, and then just set right at the top of that yellow. Just put a little purple. The only reason I did that, I don't really necessarily love it, but is to sort of blend in the purple from the rest of the bird. I suppose you could go around like a circle if you wanted, but Ooh, I did it at the bottom of those instead of at the top. I did it here too. I'm gonna have to fix that now. So I'm doing it at the bottom and the top only because I messed it up. I do that sometimes. If you've made it this far, I'm really proud of you. All right, let's get some light blue with our, let's get some really light blue. I'm gonna add even more white to it. Right here. And we're going to come in here and do some little areas in here. Redo that little section. Put a little on the top and the bottom of the eye and sort of fan it out, okay? For highlight. Some little light lines in here somewhere. Just kind of feel your way through it. We want to sort of add some lights and darks there because we want it to sort of look like a color change. Okay, and I'm going to take a small brush, small round brush, and I'm actually going to extend this feather line right here and here. You have to do a little bit of layering. Because we want that to sort of blend. I'm going to hit the ends with this dark blue and it looks like a dark purple. And we're just drawing some little swoopy, feathery little things. Okay, I think we have it just about where we want it. We are going to mix, I'm going to mix a little bit of pale green. So I'm going to take this green here and put a little white with it. That white looks like it's almost gone. Let me get some fresh white over here. And we're going to put in just a little bit of blue. Should have picked a light blue. And we're going to put just a few little places here. Pushing down and pulling. Just to add some interest to our peacock. Okay, we might even hit just a little there. You just decide where you'd like it. And let's take some of that green and add just a little bit more of this bright green to it. I'll just brighten it up just a little. And then let's put just a few places down here where we, on the tip of those feathers. Don't cover up your orange. You might even want to use a smaller brush. Let's get the 0 back in here. And we're just gonna kind of put some of those greens in. We don't need a whole bunch of them, just a few. It sort of gives a more feathery look. Alright, it's looking pretty good. Now we need to do some details in black and white. So let's go ahead and take our 0 brush or a toothpick and we're going to put the dot in the eye, okay? It's just one white dot. If you will look at my brush, I don't know if you can see it, just the smallest little area. And we're just going to put one little dot right there. Okay, just to give our bird a little bit of character. All right, now we need to outline in black. So I'm going to stay with the same small brush for some of this, and then I'll move to maybe a 3 or a 4 round brush. So what we're going to do now is we're going to define the beak with drawing a line to separate, and then a little dot for the air hole, and then just the slightest little thin line for the beak. Don't get out of hand. And I went ahead and I put one here, and I outlined this, which you don't have to do, but I just kind of like it to be, I mean, if it's going to be stylized, let's just go with it. I just put a few lines here. Doesn't have to go all the way around it necessarily, just give it some definition. Really wrecked that one up, didn't I? I might actually just try to take that off. Dry brush. Just a dry brush. Getting a little bit shaky. All right. And now we're going to define these feathers, and I think we're about finished. So we're going to just bring in some delineation here where they have these little dark places. And it, like I said, it doesn't have to be every single one of them, but like just pick some to define. And sort of outline them. Keep your lines really small. You can add a little water to your black paint, like I've been showing you the whole video. You're able to get thinner and more clean lines when you thin your paint for little things like this. Okay, and be very careful at these feathers because they're tricky. I'm just going to barely touch, maybe even just one side of them, because I don't want it to be necessarily about the black line. Okay, you can bring some purple, more purple in if you want. The other video I had a few feathers that came down that were those long sort of wispy ones. So we might do, like, trail this out a little bit. So you just decide what you'd like yours to look like. You don't have to put that down there, but it does sort of tie in the top of the bird to the bottom of the bird. And this is, you know, really fantasy. And I'm going to hit mine with a little bit of blue in a couple places, light blue, just to kind of show its shine. I'm going to kind of do a blendy. So I don't want them to get lost. And then the light blue that we did on the back, I'm going to put that where it sort of comes out. Because even though this is not realistic, peacocks have this really cool color change sort of thing that happens on their feathers. Okay. All right, I'm going to outline those and then I'm done. I'm going to get a little black and hit some darks right behind there using my zero brush, this little tiny one. So I'm just going to hit that black again, adding up just a couple drops of water because I want it to be really thin, almost like ink, okay? And then we're just going to hit some of these spots just to kind of show that there's a feather here. That got a little bit intense there. Well, we are almost to the end of this tutorial. I hope that you've had fun and that you haven't cried. I realize it's quite a different sort of jump from where we've been working. But, you know, I really think you're worth the try. It's worth it for us to give ourselves a chance to explore and to see what we can do. And I hope you've really enjoyed it. You can sign your name or not. I don't usually sign my name, but if you want to sign your name down here with maybe a white, that might be better with this particular painting. Anyway, I hope you've had fun. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, everybody.